The iPhone 6s and 6s Plus came out in late 2015 as the successor to the iPhone 6, and while it was very well received, there were still a large number of people holding out on upgrading because they didn't like the large size. Apple then released the iPhone SE a few months later in early 2016, and it was a massive success. Hey, how's it going? I'm Josh from 91 Tech, and today we're going to be taking a look at the iPhone 6s and SE. How do they compare all these years later, and which is the better value? Despite the cosmetic differences, these phones are actually quite similar internally. They have essentially the same rear camera and technical specifications, and the real deciding factor between the two is the size. If you want a bigger phone, get the 6S, but if you're okay with something smaller, you can save a little bit of cash and pick up the SE. Both are great phones and should be fully supported until at least 2021 or 2022, and at the moment they feel fast and fluid, so I'd really recommend both of these phones. But if you're wanting some more information, let's go a little bit more in depth into each of these phones. The 6S and 6S Plus were released first in late 2015 and were a huge upgrade over the iPhone 6, even if they looked the same. They had a higher grade aluminum, which meant no more bending. It had a better camera and double the RAM, which meant much better performance. We also got 3D Touch for the first time, and this is the best iPhone you can buy that still has a headphone jack, so there's that. The iPhone SE was released shortly after in early 2016, carrying most of the same internals as the 6S, but with the body of the 5S. Again, it was meant to appeal to those who wanted a smaller device. The SE also served as a budget option for those who wanted to save some money. It was really the complete package, and it kind of took me off guard when it came out. It was surprisingly consumer friendly, which is something Apple isn't always known for. So what are the differences between these two phones? There aren't very many, to be honest. The big one is that the 6S and 6S Plus are larger. They also have second generation Touch ID, which means you're able to unlock your phone significantly faster than on the SE. The 6S Plus rear camera has optical image stabilization, which is nice, but not a necessity. The battery performance will be pretty similar in the smaller 6S and SE, and the 6S Plus will be the clear winner as its battery is much bigger. The selfie camera on the 6S is significantly better at 5 megapixels as opposed to 1.2 megapixels on the SE, but it still isn't great. I hate taking selfies, but it's pretty obvious the 6S does a better job by these photos here, and so if that's important to you, you know which phone you should go for. The iPhone 7 actually upgraded the selfie camera, by the way, and if you want to see a comparison between the 7 and 6S, I'll have a link in the description below. The 6S has 3D Touch, a feature that lets you push on the display with more force to reveal extra options. This is neat, but something that isn't really too important, and you probably won't miss it with the SE. The vibration motor is something much better on the 6S, as it's quieter and more subtle. The SE is fine, but it still shakes the whole phone like the older iPhones did, while with the 6S, it feels and sounds much better. Again, this is something you probably won't miss, so I wouldn't really take it into consideration. And with that, those are the main differences between the 6S and SE. As I said, there really aren't very many, with the size really being the deciding factor. The 6S and SE both have Apple's A9 chipset and 2 GB of RAM, which results in pretty speedy performance on iOS 12. Both phones should be fully supported for the foreseeable future, and when it comes to real-life use, both phones feel practically identical. The rear cameras are basically the same, both having 12 megapixels and the ability to shoot 4K at 30 frames per second. You can see from the pictures on the screen right now, photos are going to look basically identical on both phones, and I really can't choose one over the other. Video also looks practically the same, and both phones do a pretty good job here. When it comes to the camera, I don't think you're really going to have any complaints with either of these phones, although if you're into selfies, the 6S is the better buy. And that's basically it. Both of these phones are great, and again, it really just comes down to which size you prefer. Price also can be a factor, however. Neither of these phones are being sold new from Apple anymore, but you can still find them from carriers on contract. If you can find a good deal for either of these phones, I'd say they are worth buying. But the best way to buy one of these iPhones, in my opinion, is used or refurbished on websites like Craigslist or eBay. Turning to eBay, we see the SE often can be found for under $150, which is a killer deal. Oh, and as a general rule of thumb, try to find a 32 gigabyte model at least, and for both of these phones, as 16 gigs just isn't enough space anymore for the vast majority of people. Looking to the success, we see that it goes often around $200 for the smaller model, which is also a crazy good deal. Both of these phones are totally worth buying in my opinion, and have been my personal go-to for budget devices for a long time now. So again, I'd say what you choose will come down to both size and price. If you can find a good deal for either phone, go for it. And I'm curious to hear which phone you prefer, so let me know in the comments down below. And with that, I think I'm pretty much done here. Thank you so much for watching. If this video was helpful or interesting, maybe hit that like button and consider subscribing for more content just like this. You can follow me over on Twitter and Instagram if you want some more tech in your life, links below. And with that all being said, I'm Josh from 91 Tech, and I will see you all next time.